think that I just come in there and look for knockouts, and that's not the case. You know, I'm actually a sharp, smart fighter.
So, well, wait, I'm here. Who wanted to fight with me?
I really don't care who's in front of me. I don't feel like no fighter can beat me.
Our goal is to demolish everybody, to be honest. Everybody that's in my way. The pinnacle to any weight division is to have all the belts, all of the titles.
Welcome to Bodywork. Welcome back. It's Michael Rogers. Welcome to Bodywork Boxing. It feels so good to be back. How y'all doing out there, man? It's Friday night. I wanted to come out here and have a little bit of boxing talk, man. You know, I just this has been, you know, we pretty much at the halfway point. You know, we at the halfway point this year, and this has kind of been the year of the underdog. A lot of weird things happen, you know, to include my man Tank getting a draw. Also had the controversial knee situation, the hair in the eye, the grease, or whatever it was. You know, we had a couple upsets. I think it's going to be some upsets to come here soon. Most recently today, Tevin Farmer actually missed weight the first go around. Cookie Monster, mic check, sounding great as always. That's what I like to hear. But as early as today, Tevin Farmer and Floyd Schofield had a weigh-in, and Tevin Farmer missed weight. So I said, man, all my predictions are voided, man. I mean, it's not the fact that he was 0.4 over. It's the fact that sometimes that can actually entail that someone is not as focused. Now I'm like, I don't know how you get millions of dollars, man. And I don't get it. You know, we've been seeing a lot of that here lately. I mean, some people are saying that it's an advantage. Cocaine. Salute Bodywork, best late night boxing show on YouTube. I appreciate that. Thanks. Easily Baked, Bodywork. Salute Easily Baked. You know, we in the building, man. The 300 is in the building. But I just wanted to come out, man, because, you know, this been a combination of a lot of things I've been seeing. Whereas it's a saying, especially in battle rap, right? In battle rap, it's a saying, man. Respect the shooter. Respect is the shooter, man. I think that nowadays, man, we in the era, man, where people respect the ones that got shot more than they do the shooter, man. And Tank is the top shotter, man. You can like it, love it, you can hate it, you can be disgusted, broke, busted, and dusty. He's still number one, man. And it's like this guy, man, this guy right here, man, this little guy from Baltimore, man, who came up, you know, who came up out here, man, in Baltimore, man, in these greasy streets. You know, he went on to do some things. And it's, to this day, man, it's like people are still upset about that. And I'm like, man, all these people get out here, they want to try to draw inspiration from all these other people, and then anything that this dude do, they want to take a shot on. You know, shot is past tense for y'all know what it is. Koki say, I just don't know if Schofield has real power for Farmer, but we'll see. Yeah, it's the fact that he missed weight, so sometimes that can entail that it's a loss of focus. He was trying to say that the scale was different. You know, we've heard it all, but I'm like, man, why was it that close? Was you trying to come in bang on? You know, like Dave Diamante be saying, bang on. Like, I don't know. And it was just a miscalculation. I don't know. But I'm like, man, I can't with those kind of variables, man, my prediction is off. I don't know what to expect. You know, I don't think Kid Austin is as confident, or maybe that's his style going into a fight. He didn't sound and look that confident when you look at the body language, like Andre Ward always talking about body language. He didn't look as confident. He got pushed back by Tevin Farmer. He was in his face and walking him back, and Kid Austin was still playing, but I don't know if he has a switch. Maybe Kid Austin has a switch to where when they get in the ring, he can turn that killer instinct on. I'm not sure. But like the more and more I'm watching boxing, man, the more and more the sport is starting to become like a game. Boxing is one of the most dangerous sports out there, man. And it's a lot of folly where you get hit in the head for a living. So I really don't understand how a lot of these people, a lot of these fighters are not actually taking it serious, let's see. I know it's a lot on people's minds, so let me entertain the chat for a second. Tank, one of the few guys who kept his position because of his loyalty. You stealing my thunder once again, Koki? Devin, T.O., Shakur, Ryan all spiraled and had inconsistencies because of his whole assness. You see Devin running to that turkey bag and faking offers. Yeah, man. Yeah, Kid Austin don't sound assertive. He sound like he's showing up for a job he don't like. Kid Austin dad just trying to milk as much as he can from his son. Man, you all over it. But, man, you still in my thunder, Koki. You are still in my thunder, but man, I was thinking about some things this week, man, and it come to pass that one of the major channels out here was sitting up here talking about how he was questioning whether or not Tank was actually going to get the Ferraris because Turkey came out and said that he was, he respected Tank and his loyalty to Al Heyman. But I'm like, where was this energy when I was saying, listen, man, I don't know how many of y'all been out here in the corporate work field, how many of y'all have your own businesses, however many of y'all even know how business works. But I was saying this big push because it's always in fashion, in cars, in all the et ceteras. We always pushing for the foreign as if it's more valuable. It's like people do some strange things for a little piece of change just to have something foreign in their life. Like whether it's a foreign vehicle, fashion, those are the major ones. But now this turkey thing is almost like some fashion. Some I don't know what you want to call it. Some Saudi, fashion. Like the turkey bag. And it's been a lot of like weird things that's been happening when people go get that turkey bag. And there's been a lot of people that's been like, they actually show you their true colors. So I'm like, Tank, this is what I always applaud Tank for. From the very beginning, he always said that he was about that bag. Now in his rise to the top, he's done more legacy things, believe it or not, than a lot of these guys. They just don't give him credit for. He's done more pound for pound stuff than a lot of these guys. They just don't give him the credit for it. You got to think, man, if him and Naoya Inoue actually share the same dimensions, right? And if you think if Tank started off at 126, he went as high as 40, but he settled in and said that 35 going to be my weight class. Imagine if he would have pulled what a lot of these guys do when they shrink themselves down. There's been some pound for pound guys, some undisputed guys that came in and shrank themselves down to weight classes they had no business in. There have been a couple guys that can claim fame for undisputed that shrank themselves down to sizes they should have never campaigned in. But let Tank come in and say, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna shrink down, I'm gonna go down to 126. Y'all would say that he was a bully. Why you gonna go down there and weight bully? People give him no credit for what he did with Leo Santa Cruz. Even though he went up to 40, came back down, met Leo down there 30 for the 35 and the 40 belt. That is pound for pound behavior. Everybody talk about moving up, and then they say, oh, well, once I move up, I'm not going back down. But then they'll tell you the difference in the percentages as it relates to the small guys, as it relates to the big guys. They'll actually explain all of that, but they don't understand that that was a pound for pound type feat. And everybody always have his name. Everybody always have Tank name in their mouth. They got to say his name in the interview. They always have something to say. They always analyze it. That's how people promote themselves. But people are allowed to say anything they want about Tank and nothing about the others. You know, they in a sense, you know what I like to say, they like to actually have different energy. Let me see. I just have a few words about Tank. He's the fuck face's favorite boxer. Favorite boxer. Oh man. Let me see. Davis is also a cultural icon, proof of the American dream from nothing to the top. Iverson type impact from Davis' style and his performance in the ring. He's marketable, unlike his rival. He putting a stamp on the game like AI, man, with the hairstyle. I've never like Bud rocking that hairstyle that Tank had. Now, it's like Devin did a lot of things that Tank do, like in the fact, like they all kind of try to do it. Shakur hasn't really done much by way of like looking or imagery like it, but a lot of people be, man, like when you look at him, he has an impact on them. They want to do a lot of things like he did it, but they don't want to really give him credit. Just like Koki said it right here. Devin started to dress like Tank after 2019. Exactly. But what I'm getting at, y'all, is Haney spent 85% of his career at 135. That's crazy. But what I'm getting at is, y'all, is that people love the wood nickel. Like, people love the copies, but they don't like the originals. Let me say it again. People like the copies, but they don't like the originals. And it's a saying. Most people are born original and die copies. So when I look at, like, let's get into this, man. Let's get into this real quick. Let's get into some things. Let's get into some things, you know. I guess we can start here. A while ago, I came out and I did a video saying he was the one. When Tank came out and he spoke out about Turkey, right? He was talking about, you know, how he would get, you know, done unfairly over there. And everybody, he put the media all in an uproar. And they were talking about he was being a diva. They always bring up the request for the Ferraris, but I always say, man, when them tricks be out there, or them sugar daddies be out there looking for them sugar babies, sometimes the sugar babies be like, hey man, you gotta show me something, man. I'm not just getting in your Cadillac. We just not gonna go down to the mosey wosey just yet. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna have to sprinkle something. Like, I mean, I think that, hey, it's one of them things the way he was like, hey, you got all that money, send me something, show me something, show me that you know what I'm saying, just something, some kind of sign, some kind of symbol. But everybody reads so far into that. Why? Because they need to hold on to these talking points. Not so much when it comes to these other guys. But we seen what happened with David Benavidez. He didn't get the Canelo fight. All of a sudden, all this money pop up and appear for Bud. But David, he went over there in hopes that he was going to get the winner of Bivol and Beterbiev. And that was that second time. And he was supposed to get Bivol. And Turkey came out and said, I do not want to make that fight. I'm like, well, I thought you wanted the best fights. If we just got Beterbiev and Bivol, and David, the Mexican monster, inserts himself into that equation, that's just add water. You know, that's another great fight we want to see. We heard about some sparring. You know, we know that Bivol is an elite fighter. I don't care what people be trying to say about him. He's elite. But he got done wrong. Carlos Adames in that decision, even though I was picking against Carlos Adames in that, he made me eat massive crow, and I appreciate it. I'm like, man, I like crow and it's delicious, because I thought Hamza Shiraz was going to do his thing, but that didn't happen. They wound up giving that man a draw. And then you look at what happened on, you know, in Times Square with Rolly and how they wasn't paying for his expenses. They treat him like a second-rate, redheaded stepchild, no pun intended. And even though he upset the apple cart, he was not even in the promo leading up to that fight. And when Tank said that, that was some prophecy. That he was being prophetic about that. The other thing I want to say is this on code stuff. Like right now was a prime clear example. Right now was a prime clear example that when it come down to like Devin, if you can't, after witnessing what we just witnessed this week with Devin and his father. Now, mind you, a couple of days ago, Devin came on and said he co-signed everything that his father says. Right? But then you see the exchange between Norman Sr. and Bill Haney. Just a week ago, Bill Haney called Tank Davis a crack baby. And Tank came back with, you know what I'm saying, I got 8 ball for you, you gonna come get it, you know what I'm saying, blah, blah, blah. So they had their back and forth. But the things that Bill Haney said to Brian Norman, talking about that man mother, even when he did that to Tank, talking about that man mother, it's almost like people just choose to ignore that. But when it comes to the top shotter, them, they don't respect the shooter. They don't respect the shooter, man. They don't respect nothing this man do. They hold on to it. They have long, drawn out lives about it. They critique everything that he do, and they don't put no respect on his name. That's why I came out and I said, it's like, dang, Tank, no matter what he do, it's like the boxing world of the conversation will make it seem like he crapped out. It's always craps. There's nothing, he can't do anything good. People are not satisfied yet. Everybody want to be like him, or everybody had their name in his mouth, or everybody say that they want to fight him, and everybody don't move like him. You got to understand, man, the weight of the boxing world has been on Tank's shoulders for quite some time now. And regardless of a few flies in the ointment, I think that he handled it very well. His climb to the top was tremendous. You know, especially like when he started to take off by himself in the fights he started making. And then all of a sudden, nobody wants to play. Loma's gone. Shakur say, hey, I'm going over to Matchroom. We'll revisit. You know, he go ahead and pick Lamont Roach. Everybody was hating on Lamont Roach prior to that fight, saying he wasn't nothing. They see him go to a draw. And then all of a sudden, Shakur wants to fight him. He's okay for Shakur. Keyshawn was talking about fighting him. Keyshawn and his build-up, he was saying that he wanted to fight Tank all in the build-up. Knock, and all this stuff. He get hold of a belt and he don't keep the same energy. And then Tank had once said that most of these guys, man, he said they want all the stardom and the fame. He said, but they wouldn't know what to do if they had it. And look at how big Keyshawn's ego had got. And then look at the situation that happened his second time coming back home headlining with Michael Vick, Allen Iverson, the mayor, all of his people down there. He crashed out. He blew the weight. He miscalculated. I think it was a calculated move in him doing that, but he miscalculated because De Los Santos had management And they was like, nah. And then after his brother lost, he crashed out. That means the Tank was pretty prophetic, right? But a week after that, not even a week after that, I think it was like 6 days after that, one of the biggest Devin Haney fans in the world, came out and started crying, talking about how long we gonna talk about this, and how long are we gonna kick him? And I don't really even see nobody even kick Keyshawn. Everybody just kept it a buck, and then a lot of people just got quiet and moved on. Yet this Devin Haney fan, just because he was able to sit on that bunk bed, this Devin Haney fan talks about Tank, shits on Tank all the time. Put Tank in drag. He put Shakur in drag. He famous for putting boxers in drag. You know what I'm saying? So I had to put his ass in drag, even though I don't believe in it. But I had to put him in drag on one of my thumbnails, just because. But right now, man, if you looking at all of these moves that's being made, man, and how everybody's selling out for the bag and trying to go across seas, right, for the bag, it's like take for example what Shakur said the other day in his interview. He's filthy rich. It's not about the money. He just want to make the biggest fight. But he went over there to Turkey. And the only thing that Turkey offered, because this is the same guy who says Turkey don't know, the people around him don't know shit about boxing. So I'm like, well, this is the biggest fight in boxing. This is the biggest fight in boxing. Outside of maybe if you asked for a David Benavidez and a Canelo Alvarez. But outside of that, this is the biggest fight that could be made. Still, even after the draw. So to me, that was kind of like a head scratcher. And I don't really know what's going to happen with the, I'm leaning towards Shakur actually winning that fight and showing that there are levels. But I'm not sure what's going to happen because it's a lot of pressure. And if you look at the landscape and you look at people performances in these big fights, there have been some upsets. Like everybody thought Jared Addison was the next best thing. He went over there and got mixed by Martin Bacoli for the bag. Right? And you look at Wilder, when he went over there, he got beat up. He got beat up. And then Zhang stopped him. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and then when you look at how people been acting, if you look at how people been acting after they got that bag and when they come back, they've been doing some pretty strange things. So this week, when I heard Turkey trying to say that he appreciate Tank's loyalty to Al Heyman and all that, so now he want to give somebody credit for being loyal. But he was the enticement. He had the little carrot on the stick for all these guys to leave, because what I see when I look at Turkey is I see a guy who pretty much has been manipulating the sport of boxing, using this ploy as having this big bag to grab marquee players from the game to disrupt big fights. Now, yes, in the process, have we gotten some great fights? Yes, we have. We have gotten some great fights. We got to see Daniel Dubois stop AJ. We got to see Usyk in Dubois and that debacle, which hopefully they're going to run it back. We got to see, the light heavyweight division get undisputed. The heavyweight division get disputed with the Usyks and the Furies. We seen that. I think one of the best cards they had was that 5v5 where Matchroom got waxed. Matchroom got waxed. But for the most part, man, he's been snatching up key players and making moves, and the kind of move that he actually made kind of don't make sense. They kind of disrupted the sport. And so for the longest time, man, he's been having his eye on Tank, and I'm like, man, Tank, if I could send you a message, I would tell you the same thing that I was telling Richardson Hitchens, and the same thing I was telling Brian Norman Jr. You know how I was telling them to stay away from the Haneys? I'm warning, stay away from Turkey. Stay away, man. It's bad juju, man. It's bad juju to go over there and mess with that dude, man, when it come down to that money, man. That's why I got my fingers crossed for Abdullah Mason. I hope Virgil continue to do what he doing, man, but it's a slippery slope when you go over there. And you mess with that dude, man, in the fights, in the matchups, and some of the things. Let me see. Got my fingers crossed for Abdullah. I'm hoping he don't get caught up, man, because y'all know they share the same faith and all that, but you know, it's looking like he got, when you look at a large part of the people that he's actually backing in this, you actually start questioning what's his agenda. Who does he want Tank to fight? You know, people still giving him credit for sending Tank a felonious offer, so to speak. 20 million and all this. I'm like, it's no proof, but they'll run with that. But you got to question somebody that's going to back somebody that do what the Haneys just did the other day. And basically, because they're actually running around like they actually have a blank check to try to fight people. Nobody's saying anything about that. Nothing, Nathaniel, about that. You got to question, man, what kind of person that is. You kind of got to wonder, like, what is his real agenda? It's definitely not to make American boxing great again. It's much similar to Eddie Hearn, only he has a lot more money to do what he do. And that is, it's part of this right here. Divide and conquer. He take two pieces, because look, he took the two pieces on the right over there, and obviously he's flirting with the left two pieces on there in that whole divide and conquer. He basically took them out of the play so that fights with them couldn't be made. You gotta watch, man. You gotta start reading the writing on the wall, because this guy, Top Shotta them, told us a while ago what was going on with Turkey. He remained loyal. And it's this thing now where everybody wants to be a hindsight is 2020ish, to where they know damn well a lot of the times in real time they be wrong. Way off base with their points and their stances. But they'll wait till after something happens, and then they'll be like, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, you right, man. Tank, yeah, man, yeah. So maybe Tank was right. It's like, no, because we live in a day and time where everybody wants to gaslight. Everybody wants to gaslight. He's been the only one that actually said, I'm all about that bread. I got people at home. I got a community I'm trying to support. I got things I want to do. And then recently he got a little bit more personal. Say, I want to go back to school. I want to get therapy. I want to do these things. People use that against him. The same people who strive or say they strive to be the best and they want the best and they're professionals and all that, they didn't appreciate that. But a lot of the things that Tank said is age is like fine wine. The resume, it ages like fine wine. The activity and the way his ops The way his ops move, especially this one, that is crazy. Because guess what? He don't got a father out here capping and caping for him. He don't got a father out here acting all stupid and crazy and saying anything to try to stay relevant. But somehow, this guy right here, he stays relevant without any of that. He get inside that ring and he do his thing. Yeah, we just seen the situation with Lamont Roach, you know, not sure where Tank Head was. If you look at the interviews and the build up, man, I can say, just like I be saying, like when I looked at Errol Spence going in there, I said something wasn't quite right, you know, with my man. When I seen Jermell Charlo go in there with Canelo Alvarez, regardless if 9 times out of 10, let's say regardless 9 times out of 10, Canelo could beat Jermell. I also said, man, I know my guy. I know his punch output. I know how much body work he do. I know his characteristics. I know how he fight. I know his style. I know when he's really trying to do something. So when I seen Tank in there, I was like, man, it was kind of weird. The first 4 rounds, it was like some things was happening, but it wasn't really. D1, salute. So I'm like, I looked at him and I said something wasn't right. Now I didn't make any excuses or anything like that. Ever since my man Spence lost the Bud and that whole debacle, you know, in my opinion, it was a debacle in my opinion. To be honest, I have not watched that fight again. I can't even bring myself to watch that fight again, man. Like, I don't even like seeing it. You know what I'm saying? I'm a true fan. I don't like it. You know, but I am honest when I can look at somebody and say, hey, man, this guy don't look right. Or, man, that's uncharacteristic. I know when something is not right. So when that Lamont Roach fight happened, I was like, man, that's not the typical, like, he was like, it seemed like Tank didn't want to hurt this man. In the beginning, it seemed like he didn't want to hurt this man. He kind of lost a little focus. He did his thing as far as talking to people outside the ring and doing all that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Which, you know, was always like something that I always say, stop. It's just like Jahai and Boots when they stand up in the corner. I'm like, man, sit down in the corner, get your rest. But these little things that they're going to do because that's just in them to do it. They've been doing these things. Like Tank, he's always looking off in the stands and having conversations and all that. Right? Boots and Jahai, you can't stop them from standing up in the corner. Those are just things that boxers do. Little things like that I say, hey, man, you know, change that. Like, but who am I? Let me see. Knucklehead, salute Knucklehead. There's a lot of people out here, man. Coming through in the chat, man. I've been a season ticket holder for 13 years. I got okay. But like even this situation, man, this is the latest thing that I actually seen. Yeah, hit the like button. I appreciate that, Koki. But this the latest thing I actually seen, right? Well, one of the latest things that I seen that says, you know, it speaks to Tank in the mindset. No, I know who you were talking about, D1. Yeah, that's Bills. He is a Buffalo Bills fan, diehard. But like even the history with Brian Norman and the sparring and all that, and the situation. Even though when the Normans was talking, you know, and I don't know what it is with them, you know, I try not to get between the boxers, especially when it's like, you know, I like a couple I try not to get in the middle. I try to like reasonably look at and see, you know what I'm saying, like, is that something that should really be happening, like with the Richardson, Hitchens, and Tank? Like, I was like, man, that's crazy that that's personal. I try not to get into that. But even with the history with the Normans and Tank, right? Tank came out and said that Atlanta got another star. And I'm like, those kind of things, see, and we're in a generation where when a certain fighter get lined up and matched up with another fighter, he's going to do nothing but shat all over that fighter. He's going to discredit him. He's going to say he ain't this, he ain't that. In a roundabout way, I ain't saying Tank passed the torch, but he added fuel to that fire, and that's a glowing endorsement coming from Tank saying that Atlanta got a star now. That's a glowing endorsement. You don't hear a lot of young guys. That's why I'm trying to get y'all to realize that in a lot of ways, Tank set the example for a lot of these guys, man. And at the end of the day, like, as much as bad as people try to make him seem, or how they try to villainize him and all that, it's like, what has he really done? He put on for Bodywork, Murderland. You know, he rose out of the concrete and bloomed to stardom. He put butts in seat. He get knockouts. He's always at a disadvantage in his fights in some shape, form, or fashion, whether it's being smaller or not having a reach, or you know what I'm saying, like fighting these. Like, what egregious did he do? Nothing really. You know, the most egregious thing he do is that he's not as accessible as a lot of these guys are. See, a lot of these guys will be all in the media. They'll come on your podcast. They'll join your show. They'll sit in and troll with the fans. They'll do stuff like that. So because he don't do that, that's so bad. That's why I say, man, Tank is one of them guys to where you're not really going to appreciate him until he hang up the gloves. And, you know, I don't know how much longer he's going to be in the game, but for the time being, man, I think more people should start looking at the activities of some of these other guys coming up behind him. Because look, man, if you look around, right, if Tank was to hang it up right now and we had to pass the torch to somebody else, who gonna grab the torch and run with it? Because is it too early for Abdullah? Is it? Maybe. Just a little bit, maybe. But who gonna grab the torch and run with it? Who's gonna put on iconic performances, bring the stars out, you know, sell, do numbers, right? And impact the culture the way he is? Who? Right now. Because Floyd did it when he came in and he basically took all of the attention from the heavyweights down to his division. I would say the medium small guys. Pretty much the medium small guys, you know what I'm saying? He came back and put the glamour back in and he grabbed all the eyeballs. You know, after him, I would say Tank is probably the most impactful, influential guy in the sport after that. Where is it going to go next? Is it going to go back up to the higher weight classes? But we got to think, man, and we got to start looking at the behavior and activities of all these other guys out here, man, and how they're moving. Like, this late in the game, man, this sport is serious, man. We still got people missing weight. He made his mistakes a while ago, but we still got people missing weight, blowing weight. We still got people acting like even the A side, B side is getting all crazy. When that used to never even be a talking point, which it really shouldn't be. But in order to get these fights, these guys are demanding. They want the Tank type money, but they're not willing to do what they got to do to get it. You know, and I thought that we were transitioning from where the O is not as important as, you know, how valiant an effort you put into a fight, how much you actually pour into a fight. But nowadays, it's a lot of people that believe that a win is a win is a win. As long as I can get in there and I can not be touched, I can fence, I can move. As long as I get out there and I don't end up with an O on my record, even if I have to go to court, you know what I'm saying, to get my O back, by any means, keep that O. And I'm like, this is the era we in, y'all. It's starting to change. People are starting to get more into the novelty boxing. People are trying to say that if Jake, if he beat this guy tomorrow, that they're going to consider him a legit champion. Like, he's going to be in the rankings, y'all. It's like, it's a slippery slope, man. But the guys who've done it, all those guys that have done it since they were like 5-6 years old and came up, like a person like Tate, to come up all the way like that, he don't get the respect he deserves. Somebody like Jake Paul get more respect, more leniency than he do. We got to look at the trends and what's going on. You got to start listening to these guys. You got to look at, man, how in the world can you be on top in the game and nobody ever have hardly anything good to say about you? But they know that if they talk about you, they can get money. Where everything you do is under scrutiny, even the tweet and delete. They say, oh man, he always tweeting something and deleting it. Well, I remember somebody saying that Brian Norman Jr. was ass. And then they deleted it. Nobody said nothing. I remember somebody getting locked up, getting caught with a strap. Nobody said nothing. Somebody having some drama outside, but I don't get into the messiness. That's why I never talk about it. I just observe and watch and wait and see how people react and if they're going to say anything about these things. And they don't. They remain hindsight 2020s. You know, the level of competition, like to be, especially the guys that's being compared to Floyd, the guys that's being compared to Roy Jones, when you look at the moves they're actually making, when we look at the moves that they're actually making and what's actually going on, man, you have to question and wonder, like, where is the sport going? Because if we inserted Tank and we just, like, with this move that just got made, with this whole moving up to 154 and not after all that energy for the fight and the moves, if we insert Tank in that situation, people would be slandering. Why? Because they slandered Brian Norman. He actually was with the smoke. And I seen a guy, right, that represents, he represents for that state, but I seen a guy do a video. And he was basically saying, and I speak to it because I gave him an opportunity to let me know, man, because I said I would love to be one of them guys to test out that air fryer. I would love to be able to, like, hop in there, do some light sparring with you, you know, in this boxing talk where we can get it on about some of these talking points and some of the propaganda them spreading. Because the man was up here talking about how it backfired, and he was talking about how, and everybody has chosen to do this, take this talking point, that Boots he's been at that division for 10 years. I'm like, yeah. But just a couple of months ago, when we were saying for him to move up, they told us we were rushing Boots. So I'm like, it's only been a couple months. You've been doing that IBF for a minute. It's only a couple months. We could have got the fight we wanted, and you wouldn't have had the rehydration because it would have been another unification. Plus, you're already unified. You don't just hold the IBF. It's not just defending your IBF strap and all that. Like, it would be a unification. So you would be rehydrated. You wouldn't have to deal with none of that stuff that you dealt with before. You wouldn't have to deal with it. So he's talking and he's making these points, and he's basically saying that he made the comparison of Spence and Bud and how nobody said that they were ducking. Like, Spence hasn't fought again. Bud moved up, but nobody said that they were ducking. And I'm like, well, nobody at 54 sent them an offer when they was at 47. But this is the conundrum, and I'm talking about moves. I'm talking about the guys that we look up to. I'm talking about potential to be able to pass this torch, or for that flame or that glow to jump from off a Tank and get onto one of these other guys. I'm just using Boots right now as an analogy and the moves that's being made. But when that actually happened, right? When he made the move, I was like, that's kind of odd. But I also said to myself, if you send the offer to a fighter and they don't want it, or they come back with something, right? And y'all don't come to an agreement and you move on. You can't declare that man's a duck because y'all didn't come to an agreement. Y'all had a back and forth and y'all never sealed the deal. Y'all didn't say we're gonna revisit it. Almost like what Shakur said about Tank. Yeah, we're gonna revisit that, you know what I'm saying, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, okay, so to revisit it, that means that it was visited. And then what happened? That's why I don't understand when he's saying that it ain't about the money and all that. So I'm like, I question that. But let me parking lot that. So if you send the offer to Norman and he say no, or he counter with something, and y'all don't come to an agreement, you go ahead and have another fight. He's a duck. But when you received an offer from Virgil Ortiz at 54, you said, no, I want to stay down here and undispute. And people gave you credit because you did stay there and then you unified. Legacy fight. At that point was when I was basically saying, you might as well go ahead and move up. They said I was rushing. I had been saying he needed to move up if he wasn't going to be able to get the fight. They said I was rushing him. A couple months later, now everybody like, oh, well, he been here for 10 years. I'm like, where was that talking point back then when it was going on? But check this out. The thing is, and he said that this guy that I'm talking about, that I would love to be able to accommodate that air fryer. You know, I would love to be able to come on one day and hash this out. But he said that last fall, nobody was thinking about Virgil and Boots. And I said, that's interesting because there actually was an offer sent from Virgil to Boots. But that was excused because he wanted to stay down and be undisputed. But I also recall, so that debunks that. I also recall that there was an offer to a Charles Conwell. I know because it's another content creator who was questioning Charles Conwell about it and was saying that he needed to call Boots bluff. So I'm like, okay, if you sent an offer, it wasn't for Charles Conwell to come down to 147. It was for you to go, it was for y'all to do it at 154. So you can't have it both ways. And this was prior to Stan Giannis. Can't have it both ways. So my point is, man, with these moves and like the things that Tank gets slandered for, the things that people go up his butt with a flashlight and a magnifying glass for, it's like we let all these other guys just move all willy-nilly. Never just using Boots an example. If I want to use Devin, I can say we just let Devin just move all willy-nilly. He can do a catch weight. He cannot have a belt and still declare that he's the A side and he got this and he got that because he got access to a turkey bag. You tried the little boy Richardson Hitchens, and I'm like, hold on, man. Richardson Hitchens got a belt now. Last time I checked, you don't even have a belt. You're not even flush at the weight class. You still trying to test the waters out. That's why I didn't believe that Brian Norman stuff. Never believed it. Because it's a history, it's a pattern, a repetitive cycle, you know, of behaviors that he always do, where he jaw jacks with a fighter with a big name that is an interesting fight, only to fight lesser competition. He's been doing that for years. So I'm like, man, you kind of got to give respect to Tank and how he's moving and what he brought to the sport and where he's at right now before he leaves. Because you can take all the shots you want. I'm not saying he's perfect, but I'm just saying that, man, if you held your fighters and the guys you rock with to the same standard that you hold Tank to, there'll be a lot more videos with a lot more truth. But I know what it is, man. We all gotta monetize. We all gotta stay relevant. And attention is the new drug. That's why we do it, right? Well, check this out. Given that first fight and the results, if I know what I know about Tank, he's going to spank Lamont. He's going to put on a demonstration against Lamont. You know, the way that's going to go down, I think it's going to go down bad. And I think it's going to take his stardom to a whole nother level from where it is now. Because he wanted that work right back. They said that man got right back in the gym. You ain't heard much other than an occasional tweet or this or that. You know what I'm saying? You haven't really heard nothing. The dude been locked in, focused. People still talking about him in the interviews. People still using his name in their videos under the guys that they're talking about him, even though they're not. Because these guys cannot promote themselves. They cannot sell themselves. They cannot do it unless they step on Tank's back to elevate themselves. Keep that in mind. And this guy, man, I don't know. I gotta look up the results of that fight if it even came on yet. All I know is that when I look this up, no, Roy. They sound to say Roy might come back. No, Roy, no. But let me look up something, man. I was looking at this the other day, man. I said, wow. I don't even know the results if it took place yet. This guy Terrell Herndon. These are the moves we gotta evaluate, y'all. It's on them. Imagine this man came back for the dude with a 62% knockout ratio. This guy been knocked out 4 times in his 5 losses. He's 24-5-0 with 15 knockouts. But when I look at it, the dude Richard Torres sparked him. And the other person that sparked him that we know, Brandon Gladden sparked him. F.A. Ajagba sparked him. Brandon Gladden, he got a disqualification. But F.A. Ajagba, the 2 dudes from Top Rank sparked this man. But that's acceptable, man. That's acceptable. Boxing is down bad, man. Boxing is down bad. Let's look at these latest moves, man, and what's been going on, but I don't know why we don't keep the same energy for all these guys, man. I think that we might got a minute. It's in August, but I think that man's going to do I think he's gonna do Lamont bad, man. And hopefully, the fights we won after that from a couple of these names, some of these guys, hopefully they'll show up, man, and don't just, go running and hiding after that, because the way these guys, you think about the top guy or all the guys that we actually like in all these divisions, and actually look at how they're moving now. Look at how Boots moving. Look at how Devin moving. Look at how Keyshawn moving. You can say Shakur, he's doing all right. You know what I'm saying? He's doing all right. But look at the moves. Look at the choices. Look at how it's going. Schofield didn't fight Abdullah Mason to go fight Tevin Farmer, and then Tevin Farmer show up and he missed weight. Now, he didn't do about 4 pounds like Keyshawn, but he still missed weight. Just look at the climate of what's going on in boxing and ask yourself, if you always got something to say about Tank, are you saying anything about any of these guys and how they're moving? Or you just making sure that you still get your super chats and your likes and you doing your flip-flop thing? Like people do with they flip-flop between Boots and Norman and now. Come on, man. We gotta look at these moves, man. And I think if Tank come out, the next time he come out and say something in the interview, might want to listen, man, because the things that he's saying, man, he's looking like he's real prophetic. Real prophetic, man. Respect the shooter, man. I thought maybe some people was gonna come on here and try that, man. I was really trying to get that, I was looking for that smoke. I think some people had some smoke for me, man. But I thought maybe they might be courageous, or maybe they watching the fight. I don't know. But I thought that maybe, just maybe, somebody that has something they want to get off their chest was gonna hop on, man. That's why I put the link out. And I chose this topic. So if you need a spot to go back and look at all of the examples and listen to the things that I was saying in the landscape of boxing right now, how everybody moving, I think Abdullah Mason, man, he gives us hope. Brian Norman, he gives us hope. There are some young Jesse Bam Rodriguez, he gives us hope. There are some young guys out here doing their thing. Richardson Hitchens, if they don't ice him out and they don't allow him to lose his momentum, he's still doing some things. Even Liam Paro, he came back, man, and got a stoppage. But it's only a couple of these younger guys, man, that actually really give us hope. But because we're so salacious, right, we'll turn around and just shit on them because it's not popular to ride for them. Like, if you really think about this, and this is the last thing I'm going to say before I go. If you really think about this, when it come down to Brian Norman just went over to Japan and sparked Buddy, right? It hasn't even really been 2 full weeks, and they're already slandering that man for another guy whose last performance was shit. He looked like Flash Gordon in there. All because of what? People are visibly getting mad over some people negotiating in public. That's why I said, man, don't negotiate in public. The best fights, just like this is why I was so surprised. When Keyshawn and De Los Santos, when that fight got made, there were not a lot of negotiations in the public. It was a misunderstanding where they said, the fight's off. They said something about the money. Next thing you know, the fight was on. And all the way up to Keyshawn missing weight. There wasn't all this back and forth in the public about, at least about the negotiations of a fight. There wasn't. His twin, salute. Bodywork, salute his twin. I just wanted to put something on your mind, man, because we gotta man, y'all gotta look at the Haneys, man, and how they moving. You know, you gotta look at how them guys is moving, man. Don't be and every other time, every other day, every other hour. Now they moving on to Shakur, or they want Shakur before Brian. Like, man, if Tank moved like that, we would be hearing about it live in living color. Respect the shooter, man. He don't fight nobody off in no knockout loss. Crush the legend in the building. Salute, Crush. He don't fight nobody off no loss. He don't fight nobody off no knockout loss. He's either taking O's like these young guys doing, like, Tevin Farmer, he's kind of getting in there with the young guys. He's not coming out with the verdict that we want. Who knows what'll happen tomorrow night? He's not coming out with the verdict that we want, but he is getting in there with those young guys like we expect some of these other guys, man. It's a lot of fish out here in the pond. But they only want 1 or 2 or maybe 3 people to do all the dirty work. And all it takes is one nasty conversation, one crazy tweet, one interview to steal somebody's shine. Imagine that. I really just wanted to put something on y'all mind, man, and say, listen, man, Tank is the top shotter. He still run this shit. He still by moves. And even the people that he's fought, when he fought them, they said that they wasn't nothing, that they wasn't shit. But everybody else want to fight them. Lamont Roach was the prime example where before the fight, nobody wanted it. After the fight, Shakur and Keyshawn wanted to fight Lamont Roach. Brian Norman's wanting to fight the winner of Pacquiao and Mario Barrios. Which who don't want to pay that Manny Pacquiao payday? I think he's just too long on the tooth. But who wouldn't want it? Even Devin wanted Mario Barrios. Keyshawn Davis was talking about Isaac Pitbull Cruz, but Isaac Pitbull Cruz pretty much turned into a pinata, in my opinion. We're going to see what happened with him and that Fierro guy, because I think that guy Fierro can actually beat Pitbull. You know, Ryan went on to do what he did to Devin, but then that got an asterisk beside it. And ain't nobody really saying Rolly. But look at what Rolly was able to do to Ryan. Nobody put no respect on Tank when he fought Rolly, though. That's why I say it's aging like fine wine, man. So I think we might want to pay attention to, man, who's really the shooter and not the one that's getting shot in more ways than one. I just thought I'd come out here and put something on your mind, man. This was a freestyle, but I really thought somebody would come in here, man. I was looking for somebody. I was hoping this one person would come on here, man, but they didn't come. Is there one? Is there one? If there's not, then look, I'm gonna watch the only fight I care about tomorrow. Really, I want to see how Avius Griffin look. You know, I want to see how he looks because he's making some noise at welterweight division. He could become a major player. You know, he got a little belt, one of them secondary belts. He's making some noise. He signed with Jake Paul, of course. I want to see how he look. Then I want to see the outcome of this Tevin Farmer and Schofield, Kid Austin fight. That's the only fight I really care about. Those are the only fights I really care about. I'm probably going to watch them all, me and my lady, and we're going to decide if the card was up to par. I mean, it seemed like it's pretty decent. You know, I'm just not into novelty boxing. But I am going to check it out. And like always, I'm going to take my notes. I'm going to make my assessments. And I'm going to come back out here and give y'all what I think on that day. But I just wanted to come out here, man, and tell y'all, man, look. Respect the shooter. Not the ones that's out here getting shot, man, because a lot of these dudes is moving funny. Funny money. Anyways, y'all, thanks for choosing Bodywork Boxing. Well, we don't take things for face value. We do that body work.
He didn't want to box. He wanted to actually prove that he could punch with you. He was like, what the fuck is this nigga, right? Oh, okay, you want to go to sleep. You tired.
Welcome to